Welcome to the Forever Better Academy podcast, where you will be given the principles, tools, and techniques to reach the next stage on your journey of self-mastery. Who could you become? I'm your host, Wade Vincent. Whether we realize it or not, our actions impact other people. My name is Wade Vincent, and thank you for joining me again on another episode of Forever Better Academy podcast. This one I think is really important because it's very easy to overlook how our actions impact others, especially in a global economy and a global society with almost 8 billion people. When you don't have a connection that you can feel, see, or experience, up close and directly adjacent to you, it's easy to be misled or believe that your actions don't have an impact on other people. When you're so far removed from potentially the people that your actions do affect, it's easy to think that that's not true at all. Now, I think especially in this day and age, it is vital, right? It is 2021 right now, and I think more than ever, we can no longer continue to pretend that the things we do don't have impact or consequences for other people. Now, I guess I would probably say that it's not really until we've lived a little bit of life and had some life experience that we start to comprehend how truly connected we actually are with one another and learn and realize that our actions can have unintended consequences for other people. Now, I do believe and wholeheartedly, most people on this planet are good people. I believe that we all want the same kind of things, right? We all want comfort and security, love and happiness, freedoms, and protected resources, being that we have access to food and water and healthcare. Those kind of things, I honestly believe, are things that almost, if not every single human being on this planet desires. And I would also say that people wanting those things don't want them at the expense of other people. So now, for example, I don't want to earn more money than somebody else so that person has less money than I do. My background in sales, you'll experience people who think that they have to, in order for them to win, you have to lose. And the truth is that we can all win together. There's enough for everybody. It's not, my wins don't equal your losses, right? Now, whether we like to acknowledge it or not, we are in competition, right? We're in constant competition for resources, with one another. And I think that's where this kind of this life being a struggle to survive, a battle to survive, this has come from this sort of thinking and this way of living, right? That survival of the fittest, as they say, right? Now, it's easy to misconstrue and take a concept or an idea and assign it a meaning different to the one that it originally intended to represent. So let's say we're talking about Darwin and theory of evolution, where he says, survival of the fittest is really the advantageous mutations in species that occur just over time naturally, and depending on the conditions that that organism lives within, sometimes those mutations can be an advantage to their survival, right? So this is what survival of the fittest was all about, right? The fittest being best adapted to the environment within that which within they live. Apologies for the tongue tied. It's a little bit of a mess when I'm trying to get it right sometimes. But what I'm getting at is, it's very easy to take that concept and confuse it and believe that it means automatically, for me to survive, I have to do better or be better than other people. Now, that is not the case at all. Naturally, as I say, sometimes we don't acknowledge that we are in a competition, in the sense of the way that nature sort of works. But we have designed and structured society in a way now that we don't need to compete with one another for these resources, because they're becoming readily available, and there's so much abundance that, like, for example, the best way I can describe this is, I don't go to the grocery store and fight and physically get in a violent altercation with another man over the T-bone steaks, right? Like, there's a packet there, and I grab a packet, and then he also grabs a packet, or there's another man there. He might not even eat meat and couldn't care less, right? And say I get there, and another man has got the last packet of T-bone steaks, then I'll buy something different, right? We are not in that same phase or time in history where resources were that scarce that we needed to compete to eat, right? Now, and this gets into that discussion around the differences in societal structure and class, and they talk about the gap widening between the wealthy and the poor. That does not mean that there isn't enough resources. There aren't enough resources for everyone to go around. It's just a disproportionate balance of where the resources have fallen, right? So don't ever confuse it that you need to take or hurt or beat somebody else for you to have these things, right? You don't need to anymore. Now, how do I put this? The biggest struggle in grasping this and it becoming part of your internal monologue, how you think about the world, how you see the world, and how you operate and act within the world, is really how you fight against and shift this dated paradigm, right? Now, paradigm, for those of you that might not be familiar with the term, is your belief system, your mindset, how you see things. Almost, I guess you could liken it to an operating system, right? How you navigate and live in the world, right? So this data system, I think this is one of the biggest struggles that society faces at the moment, and I feel that it will go a long way in helping the way we approach and move forward as a society and a species as a whole, if we understand it's no longer me versus them or us versus them. Them is us. We're all the same. We are all the same, and our survival isn't dependent on one race, taking over another, or outdoing or bettering or taking from another race. We're all the same. It's a long long done with and completely irrelevant, and there's no benefit in that train of thought of us versus them. It only separates us further, and is and honestly, I feel that this is probably a catalyst and one of the drivers for a lot of the problems we face is because we constantly are reverting to this monkey mind, our old way of thinking, our as I say, dated paradigm of us versus them separates us further and creates wedges and divides us as a species, right? Need to get beyond that, need to fight that, right? It's important, right? As I say, your actions, my actions, our actions impact other people. So the big challenge in this is ultimately, right, as I say, when the dynamic of nature is competition for resources and scarce resources at that. My understanding and where I believe science is at is that the benefit in that is fighting for those things builds a stronger organism, a stronger chance of survival. The ones that adapt and learn to survive or work harder or can outpace or outclass or outdo their competition are more likely to survive. Yes, absolutely. I understand the concept and the importance of it within nature and the strength of a developing organism to continue and ensure their survival, right? But we have learned and evolved and changed, and the challenge now is not adapting to the conditions to better someone by taking from them or winning at their expense. The real challenge and the strength in an adaptation now is adaptation of thought, the way that you see things, the way that you approach things, how you operate. That's the strength in survival, and how we can utilize that capability to ensure that everybody survives together. It's no longer, and think it through, right? If you think about how much better or how greater is the likelihood of our survival as a species, which is what the ultimate driver of our actions and behaviors stems from, how much greater is the likelihood when we are looking out for one another? If I'm not just concerned or invested in my own interests and what's good for me at the expense of everyone else and screw the world, how much more likely are we to survive if I'm considering my neighbor and the other people around me and trying to ensure that the way I navigate and operate in the world isn't at the detriment of others? How much of a different approach and a different life and a different structure to society would we have if we worked and operated in that way? It's think about it, right? It's counterintuitive to fight against your own kind in this day and age. We live in the most abundant time in history. We have, and we don't realize we have the ability now. You see, scientists have the ability to grow meat. We don't even need to hurt another animal or hurt the planet in order for you and I to have a steak. There's always creative and ingenious and new ways to approach old problems. And those problems aren't even problems, they're opportunities, right? For us to find solutions and move forward together. Right? You think about all the people who've done innovative and great things. I think it was Isaac Newton who said, if I'm great, it's because I stand on the shoulders of giants. Right? That's taking all the knowledge and wonder and hard work and learnings from the people that came before us and building upon those things for the betterment of society as a whole. All of those innovations are framed from the right perspective. You know, when we learned to harness electricity, it was for the good of mankind, right? We didn't create electricity for just one people. You know, there wasn't even a consideration, right? It was because this was a leap forward in our understanding and our way of approaching life that would make things better for all, right? That's what it's about. So using that dated paradigm of us versus them serves no purpose now in this day and age. And I am thankful in the time that I've grown up in that, you know, we haven't experienced a world war, and I pray to God that we never experience another world war. I feel that that's such a dated concept, and I know there's a lot more politics, and there's too many layers, and it's much deeper than just fighting against a country. There's other factors at play. I understand that, but the point remains that I pray that we realize that that's not a necessary thing anymore. That we don't need to do those things because we don't need to try and take from one another. There's ways that we can share and balance the advantages that one country or nation or person or region may have that can be, you know, exchanged for the other resource that this nation or country or person or region has on this side, because we need both, and sharing is what it's about, and we all win for it, right? We all win for it. The and I guess that's what I wanted to get at, is you can't let your belief system, which is, and this is always the case, any obstacle that you face that holds you back or challenges you is your thinking. The most powerful thing in the world is thought. How you can do things, how you can change things, how you can solve problems, how you create the future that you wish to see. Thought is the most powerful thing in the entire world. Intention, ideas, concepts, change, growth, the way that we consider how do we do things differently, right? How do we improve things? How do we make things better for everyone? And that obstacle of a dated belief system, when you understand we're living in a future with a thought pattern that is from the past, it quickly becomes apparent that it no longer serves us, right? So the true battle is not against one another, but against the limitations of our thinking. That is the true battle, and the greatest challenge I believe mankind faces in this day and age is the limitations of our thinking. Now, you think if imagination knows no bounds, it's infinite. Why would we limit ourselves to thinking small or believing that there isn't solutions to the problems we face? Every problem has a solution. It just requires some thought. Now, when you, I really hope that this is resonating. I want this concept to have an impact on you, right? Like, you know, like, and it ties into it, right? Our actions impact others. Our actions don't need to be detrimental, right? It's easy to read that title and think negatively of like how actions can create problems for other people, but our actions can do good for others, right? It's always two sides. It's always the balance, good and evil, black and white, yin and yang. That's what you know. That's how I understand the universe at the level that I can comprehend. Right? It's always that harmony, the two sides. So our actions can impact others in ways that change and shape and shift other people's lives for the better. And there's countless people out there doing wonderful things with that as the foundation for why they do it, because they know serving people, helping other people, doing things for other people is what changes the world. our actions can impact others. Now, when you when you acknowledge that, when you take that on board and really understand, unless you're some kind of psychopath, you genuinely don't want to hurt anyone, and you don't want to do things when you know that there's a flow-on effect that will hurt someone else or their family, or perhaps limit their ability to get ahead, or challenge their security or their safety or their freedoms, right? The biggest shift is when you grasp that concept of us being connected, and we truly are, right? We are all the same. We this is why when you talk about some feelings that you've had or an experience you've had in your childhood, or you listen to, say, a stand-up comedian tell jokes about things, and you've never met these people, but you can relate to what they're feeling and what they understand, and how they understand and how they feel things, because we're the same. We feel the same things. We might experience them in slightly different ways. Like if you consider the difference in culture, right? As before the world was truly global, and we have connection via like planes and ships, and when we sort of were segregated because of the lack of technology and the capability to interact with one another, we created different songs and dance and art forms and rituals and costume and what we consider culture. They're different ways of expressing the same thing. That's why the framework is the same. If you consider Greek people have different song and dance to people in Thailand, but they both have song and dance. It's equally important for them to express themselves in the same way, right? These things are common traits amongst all of us, and that's why we feel the same things. We understand and we relate to one another, because those experiences are common and universal. So when it dawns on you and you understand that connection that we share, you start to not only think but act in a collective mind. You start to consider how what I'm doing impacts, affects, or influences other people. And the interesting thing is, if you, again, the two sides, right? The harmony, the balance. If you don't consider how your actions impact other people, even if you don't see the flow-on effect when you do something that negatively impacts another person on this planet, soon enough the challenges and then the obstacles that they face after being impacted from your lack of consideration for how it would affect them, it flows back around to you, because it creates conflict or struggle or problems that you can't escape from. If we are all connected, karma, universal energy, God, whatever you want to call it, energy isn't destroyed. It can't be destroyed or created. It just flows, right? When you know that, you can't help but want to do good for other people. It's one of, I guess, this is a real challenge. I think the alignment of collective thinking and that collective consciousness, right? Not everyone thinks in the same way. And there's good in that, because we don't want to all have the same ideas, but there's benefit in us having the same drivers or approach or framework, where we want to think differently with each other in mind, right? We want to come from a place of love and kindness that that our actions and thoughts, aren't painful or hurtful to other people. That's probably one of the greatest challenges that humanity is going to face is can we align our thinking fast enough? Now, they say necessity is the mother of invention, and controversial thought, perhaps global warming is a good thing for us, right? Maybe it's the motivation we need to realize that if the planet heats up greater than we can handle and tolerate, who cares if China and America see things differently? Because there will be no China and America. It doesn't matter. Like, you realize like how foolish the concept is of nations, right? It's ridiculous. It serves no true purpose in this day and age. I honestly feel when we, and this is the separation, right? It's easy to be like, yeah, I'm American or I'm Chinese and I don't align with or agree with those thoughts. Yeah, we have different thoughts, we have different cultures, different approach, absolutely. But when you truly see yourself as a global citizen, you care about what happens in another country because they're a human just like you. They're an earthling. They're a person. It doesn't matter. I don't look at someone from Venezuela and be like, whoa, they're not like me, I don't care. That's ridiculous. Look at them. Look them in the eyes. A person is a person is a person. If you don't feel that connection, like this, you got to look deeper. Remember, that person feels the same things you do. They want the same things you do. They understand love the way you understand love. Right? And if you show love and care and compassion for that person, what do you think that will do for you? It's the same, right? The love and care and compassion, it goes around, it comes back, right? So that's one of the greatest challenges I feel, is that alignment of thinking is going to be a huge challenge for us as we move forward. But having the perfect storm of this immediate threat of, say, potential with climate change, and the urgency that creates for us to excuse my French, cut out the bullshit and work together is more important than ever before. We're all facing the same struggle. For once, it's a unified challenge and threat that we all need to put our differences aside and work collaboratively to the benefit of all of us. This is a turning point. This is critical moment, right? And we have tools now, the technology we have, and the way that we're improving our understanding of science. Everything is, as I say, that perfect storm is creating that opportunity and timing and all the pieces falling together for this to occur. We have that ability right now to work together and do it for one another. And there's been great people throughout the ages that have wanted and spoke of and fought for these freedoms and this future that will be better for everyone. And now we're closer than ever before. We're closer than we've ever been before, and we can get there now, and this goes to that flow on, like as I mentioned, that the positive actions equal positive results, and they set an example for others to follow. Right? You think about, in the Bible they talk of an eye for an eye. And then have you heard the saying before, an eye for an eye leaves the whole world blind? Could not agree more. You poke someone's eye out, they come back and poke your eye out, and then someone from your family decides they want to get revenge and they're vengeful. It's a never-ending spiral into deceit, destruction, and darkness. Nothing good comes from that. When you come from that place of love and kindness and care and support, understanding of one another, and you actually value the outcomes that other people will experience and want good for others, it's only going to flow on. When you show a kindness to someone and give them the care and love, it's nourishing. That person, I guarantee, will do the same for the next person. You ever been at work, right, and you've had a shitty day, and someone, your boss breathes down your neck and gives you grief and makes you feel miserable, right? What happens? You come home and you're too short with your kids, you've got a bad temper, flows on, right? Even unintentionally, you don't realize how much of an impact, right? How important it is to consider others and approach that your actions with those people in mind, because the flow-on effect is incredible. How truly quickly good kindness and love and joy and togetherness and support flows through the world. And then ultimately, when, as I say, we're connected, right? I've talked through this episode and mentioned it a couple of times. When we consider and put others first, we are also putting ourselves first, because this way of acting and thinking is beneficial for us all. It comes back. There is no loss. There is no if you win, I lose. If you win, I win. Do you see? You can't do things at the expense of other people. And I understand, maybe someone watching this is looking at it saying, you're an idealist. Yeah. I'm an optimist. I'm an idealist. I believe that this is absolutely possible. And why would I not want to strive for it? Only good can come from it. And even if, it's not achieved in my lifetime, I've done my part towards it, and I make the most of the opportunities I've been given to understand and be kind and share and love with one another. No bad comes from it. No bad. None at all. Think about it. Really think about it. What problems come from considering other people and how they feel about things and altering your actions accordingly? It all good comes back, right? And the sooner we can do that, the better. Everybody wins, right? Everybody wins. Like if every one of us thought of other people first, no one in the world would go without. Really think about that. If every single one of us thought about how important it was to ensure other people are comfortable and safe and taken care of, no one in this world would be without. Not one person. And this is a challenge for us to evolve the thinking, right? As I was discussing earlier, the thought is the challenge, right? The greatest power we possess. Our evolution now becomes evolutionary in our thinking and our approach. It's no longer just a biological evolution. It has to be our way of living, the way that we see things, the way that we maneuver, how we understand our actions and the effects they have on others. All right, I could probably talk about this for hours, but I don't want to go on too long with this. I think the points hold more validity if they're short and sharp. And I thank you guys. I really want to know, how do you feel about this? Am I full of myself? Am I just kidding myself? Tell me. I want to know how you feel. Leave a comment. Send me a message. Let me know, because I want to understand how I can make the best impact, how I can share things that are beneficial, how I can give more to others, how I can play my part. All right, this is Wade Vincent. You are listening to the Forever Better Academy podcast. If you're watching the video on YouTube, thank you so much for watching as well as listening. Please subscribe to the channel, share it out, and the more of the content that you watch, the better the results from the algorithm, and this gets this message and shares these tools and these lessons and guidance to other people that might need to hear these things, and it will help change their life as well. All right, guys, who could you become? Thank you so much for being here, and I will talk to you again next Friday. All right, guys. See you later.